Today I'm going to teach you how to pump foil with the Foilscoot. Let's go! Thanks so much for joining us today. We are going to talk about how to pump foil with the Foilscoot. I just got the Foilscoot and I'm like super fired up. I've been doing a lot of teaching, and dog starting is probably, pump foiling is probably one of the hardest things to teach, and it's also not very accessible, so you can't really take a brand new beginner that has never been on a foil, and kind of teach them how to dog start. That would be very sketchy. So in terms of safety, for me, for teaching, I don't like that. And then in terms of success rate, it's incredibly low. I've never seen anyone succeed at any type of, more than 2 pumps in a row for someone that doesn't have any foiling experience on the dog start. But here, the game has changed with the Foilscoot. It is so much safer and so much easier. So let's talk about why it is safer. Well, you have the handlebar, which means every time you fall, you bring the handlebar with you, and that means the foil is away from you. That's always the sketchy fall we see for someone dog starting, is you kind of you kick your bird and then you come down and then your foil is coming out and you fall on your foil. Here, because you fall with the handlebar, whatever side the handlebar go with you, that foil is going on the other side. So I've never seen anyone falling on the foil while they hold the handlebar. So that, in terms of safety, it's pretty amazing. And then why is it easier? Well, when we pump foil, we are doing 2 things at once. We are hopping, kind of generating power, but we have to manage the pitch, to get the timing right, to generate, speed when we pump. So we are doing all of that with our feet, and it's very difficult because 2 things at once. Here, you kind of manage your pitch with your handlebar and the power with your hop with your feet. So you have kind of it's a bit more intuitive and it comes a lot faster. I've seen some success with people within 20 minutes. My friend Clayton, never been on a foil before, and within 20 minutes he did 10 pumps or something, almost a full lap back to the dock. That's incredible. It would have never happened without this system. So when you are ready to graduate, you can remove it. It's just like a foil track for your handlebar. So super easy, super quick to remove. And I've had the question of is it going to give me bad habits for dog starting? And in my opinion, it's not going to, because it's going to at least give you the feeling of pump foiling. So when you graduate and you remove the handlebar, you know what it should feel like when you actually get some successful pumps and you generate speed, so you know what you are looking for. When you don't know what you are looking for, it's very hard because you have no success, you don't feel it, and then it's kind of very hard to figure it out. So you can mount any foil on your Foilscoot. The foil choice is pretty important because you want it as forgiving as possible. So a beginner foil is going to help. I did the mistake when I first jumped on it. I was I'm going to put the pump foil setup I'm very used to. It's a bit more on the performance side, but I was this is what I'm going to use. And this is still a new way of pumping. So the beginning was actually kind of hard, the first few tries for me, because I had a tiny stab and a more higher performance pump foil setup. And so to learn, you want a big stab so that it can be forgiving on how much force you put when you pump, and it just makes it more forgiving on your sweet spot. If you have a bigger stab, more beginner friendly front wing, your sweet spot is going to be wider. If you have a really high performance pump foil setup with a tiny stab, your sweet spot is very small and it might be a bit more tricky to learn. Here I have the KT Instinct 1450, but I've also had a lot of success with the AFS Flyer 1500 or 1800 depending on the size of the person, but essentially it's a bit lower aspect, and in my opinion it makes it easier. It's not necessarily the most efficient, but at first we are not necessarily looking for efficiency, we are looking for easy. So now let's go with what steps do we need to take when we learn how to foilscoot. You got your setup, you are brand new to it. The first thing is finding the sweet spot. So on the burn, the sweet spot where your feet are gonna go doesn't necessarily have to be precise because it's a full body position. So where your feet land, you can always compensate with your upper body, with your chest, more forward, more back. So, but we still need to be in a general good area, which is gonna be about above the front wing or slightly in front of the front wing. That's how you're gonna land. You're gonna land ideally with your toes slightly pointing forward and side by side, but staggered, one slightly in the back, one slightly in the front. From there, what we need to do is finding glide. That's how we're gonna know that we are in a sweet spot. If you step on it and right away your foil goes up and stall, or it makes you turn, that's because you had too much weight back. Often, even if your feet are in a sweet spot, but your chest is kind of like away from the handlebar, you're gonna make it stall, so we know we are too far back. What we want is to be more over the handlebar and be able to go all the way down to the water. On your first try, I recommend going too far forward, really lean over the handlebar, and make the board go all the way down to the water. From there, you can try after tries, dial it back to find the most glide you can have, which is gonna be how far can you go with no pumping. The glide and that angle is key for pumping because that gives you a good base to start your first pump. If you are going too far down, if you are going up, that first pump is just not gonna work anyway. So the first thing is we need to find that perfect angle slightly down that's gonna give us the most glide. When you get off the dock, it's very important to have enough speed. Jumping on a foil that has no speed is very difficult, and the foil is not as stable. As soon as you have a bit of speed, the foil is going to be so much more forgiving, so much more stable. So make sure that you don't do like either a slow walk and step on it, or maybe you do steps, stop and step on it. You really want to find I would say like commitment in your run off the dock. So you have a bit of speed and then you jump on it, and your last step is a good push. If your dock is straight, just make sure you push off away from the dock so you get a good like 45-degree angle like push. If you want to practice straight off the dock at a 90-degree angle and just not get any steps, that is possible, but in my opinion it's more difficult because now all of your speed relies on that one push. So in my opinion it's better to run and then commit, push off, and then the dock you have depends on how high it is. Maybe if you have a higher dock, maybe you need a taller mast. For us, we have a bit of like an incline, so we can kind of like live off whenever we want. That's pretty ideal, so we can set whatever height we want. But if you have a normal like steady height, that works too. It's better to have a bit of height than a dock that's totally on the water, because like we mentioned, you want to be high on the mast, and so if you are like really close to the water when you get off the dock, you don't have much room to start pumping. So you want to try to get on your foil at a decent height, and with speed. Once you got really good glide, then we're gonna start adding the pump. So the pump is literally just like a hop with the intention of getting back up high on the mast. But what's important is that every time often people kind of like get the bit of like the hop, but when you land on the other side of that hop, we tend to be still nose up. And that's gonna put on the brake, you're gonna stop right away. So we need to make sure that every time we land from the hop and we are about to load to hop again, we drive the nose down. So in your mind, you really wanna have the intention of going back up and driving it down, going back up and driving it down. You're gonna feel it as soon as you start putting any weight on it and the nose is up. You're gonna start slowing down, you're gonna put on the brakes, and you're gonna stop, stall, or fall. So the key is always really driving it down. With the handlebar, you can help yourself a little. When you are like on a hop, the handlebar comes with you, and when you are loading again, you are like leaning over the handlebar. What's important to understand is that the handlebar is not the part of the board where you put a lot of force on it. If you force on it, it means that something else is wrong and there are like opposition of like, forces, and it's not gonna work anyway. The other thing is we really want to be careful. This is, strong, but I've seen the worst combo possible, which would be the beta foil with a massive wingspan and a heavier guy. And if you force on that, the wingspan makes it like super locked in. Now you have a lot of leverage with your handlebar, and you can actually damage your board. So we need to understand that the handlebar should be super light. You should be able to at the beginning you won't have the good like feel to like only handle it with your fingertips, but you could. It's like literally this light. The key is that if you are in a sweet spot, it's going to be very light. So it gives you just enough to control your pitch, but it's not something you force on it to generate power, generate speed. All the force is in your feet, in your hop, and this is just your really light command on your pitch. So if you find yourself forcing on the handlebar, something is wrong, dial it back, take it easy, find the glide, and start over. And another thing that's really going to help you stay up for a long time, be more efficient, is staying high on the mast. We wouldn't think it has like such an impact, but when we pump foil, having more mast in the water creates a lot of drag, and that slows you down, that makes you work harder. It's almost like you are like sinking. As you come down, you are sinking even more. So if you can stay up, that is the key position to be. You want to stay high, and you want your pumps to be not a lot of like amplitude. So it should be about this amplitude, up and down, and pretty high on the mast. So it almost feels like a bit of a flatter pump, but we need to drive the nose down. I would say that's the most like common mistake, is that we push and the nose is still up and we slow down. And to be able to drive your nose down every time, your upper body, your chest has a massive impact. If you find yourself, like I said earlier, like with a straight chest, you're most likely gonna be pushing with the nose up. So you have to lean over the handlebar. That is gonna be the best position to every time you land from your hop, you have enough weight forward that you can drive it down and then you bring back up. But that chest has to be forward. That's gonna be a massive help. And from my experience with all of the people that I've put on it, from people with a bit of experience to, like I said, Clayton with no foiling experience at all, it is typical that you will see some result within the first or second session. Now, it is a foil, it is pump foiling, it's still difficult, so it can take a bit of time, of course. Don't freak out if like after like 10 tries you don't see any result. It is going to be, something new to learn, but your chance of success is so much higher than with a regular board. Once you are able to go and do some laps with your Foilscoot, take off the handlebar, and I have another tutorial on 3 drills that you need to do to practice the dog start. I would say transition to that video, do those drills, and then the pump foiling should come easier, because now you have experienced that feeling of acceleration after every hop, and really the importance of driving the nose down whenever you load the board. So I hope this is gonna help you. If you are getting the Foilscoot and you follow those steps and you see some success, I would love for you to post the video, tag me I love to see people progressing, having fun. To me, I'm always super excited when I find a tool that allows more people to experience foiling, because it's an incredible feeling and I always want to share it, but I know how difficult it is. So when I find something that allows me to share it with everybody, I'm super stoked. This is what it is, the Foilscoot. It makes it easier, more accessible, and whatever you look like when you are doing it, you know, if you are having fun, that's what matters. I'm gonna put the link right here if you want to check it out, the Foilscoot. If you are in the US, you can get it at wingfoilprocenter.com. We always appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys next time.